Well, since you want to talk about it, let's talk about it. All right, what's up, y'all? You already know who it is. Welcome to Unfinished Business. We are back. We're ready to go. Myself, Tia, and my co-host here, Danny. Danny, say what up.
What up?
All right, y'all. So, been a little minute, and I say that every time. It's fine. But there's been a lot that has been going on since we've last had our podcast, right? And so, as always, we want to cover some of those topics. We want to see what you guys think. If you're on YouTube, like, comment, and subscribe. Apple Podcasts, you already know what to do. Subscribe, because I know you guys like hearing our lovely voices.
They love it.
So, with that being said, right, first topic of the day. NCAA passed the law to allow student athletes to profit off of their name, image, and likeness. And so, do you kind of want me to go? I have this infographic pulled up. Do you want me to kind of explain what that means? And then I kind of want to see what you think about that. What doors do you think are going to open? So forth and so on. So, guys, this is per the NCAA Instagram page. They did an infographic just to kind of let people know what does this mean. So, what it is the student athlete name, image, and likeness. It says all three NCAA divisions adopt interim name and likeness policy. And so regardless of whether you're Division I, Division II, Division III, this applies to you. So definitely if you're a student athlete, current, and also maybe prospective, listen up. So it says individuals can engage in NIL activities that are consistent with the law of the state where the school is located. Colleges and universities are responsible for determining whether those activities are consistent with state law. Individuals can use a professional services provider for NIL activities. College athletes who attend a school in a state without an NIL law can engage in this type of activity without violating NCAA rules related to name, image, and likeness. And last but not least, student athletes should report NIL activities consistent with state law or school and conference requirements to their school. And so now that we read that, I know we talked about it, and you asked me, does it only apply to certain states and things like that? And I think that might have just cleared it up.
Right.
They continue to say consistent with state law. So obviously, let's say you're in a state like California they've already passed a bill like this, and now the NCAA has kind of opened it up. What do you think about just the bill in general, and how do you feel about it?
Well, I think it's about time. I think so many college athletes, obviously even way before our generation, as far as back as, Reggie Bush winning the Heisman Trophy. And obviously back then it wasn't even talked about for people to, profit off their name, image, and likeness the way that he did illegally. And so, of course he got his Heisman Trophy revoked and all of that, which I saw recently that they might be discussing reinstating that, returning that to him because of the new rule. More to come on that. But yeah, I just think it's about time. I think that so many college athletes, I mean, you think about Michael Jordan at North Carolina, you think about Carmelo Anthony at Syracuse, you think about all of those huge names that were huge names in college, right? Before they even made it big time. You think about Paige from UConn. I mean, you think about women's basketball.
Yeah, she's going to get paid.
Yeah, she's definitely going to get some bread, definitely. And I love that for her. Mm-hmm. And I love that for the future generations of college athletes. Do I wish that we could have, got paid when we were college athletes? Who knows if I would have, I don't know. Somebody
got a little something.
You never know.
Piece of change.
Yeah, but it's so cool now to see people partnering with vintage stores and, consignment stores, sneaker stores, brands, streetwear brands. I think that's so cool to see. And if honestly, they're in the prime of, like that time right now. And I know Jay Billis has been one of the biggest advocates for student athletes profiting off of their name, image, and likeness, simply because he was a college athlete at Duke, and he just completely thought that it was unfair. And not even just, the big sports, football, men's basketball, going all the way to gymnastics. You see those viral floor teams, those all these videos that go viral. You think about if any college athlete that goes viral, the kicker for Vanderbilt, the girl that they had kick for them this year, those athletes that go viral, they can be the biggest name in sports that week, but they're not getting paid off of all of those clicks, all of that attention, because they're not allowed to, or they weren't allowed to. But now that they are, I think it's great. I think it's about time. And I'm excited to see what shift it's going to have with students staying in college as far as men's basketball, maybe even football. Maybe athletes staying more than 1 year, not having that incentive of making NBA money, being one and done. You might not be making NBA money in college, but maybe you might. I don't know how big this is gonna get as far as income and stuff like that. But I do think that one and done isn't gonna be as big, because think about the $1,700 checks we were getting every month versus I don't even know what type of deals they are signing now as far as money wise. So I think it'll be interesting to see how it shifts and how it changes the one and done thing in men's basketball, and obviously different for a lot of other sports. And two, how many other sports can gain notoriety. Maybe there'll be a big water polo player that signs some big deal, or I don't know, a golfer that's just incredible that signs deals. It won't just be about those big sports anymore. So like I said, I think it'll be interesting to see what shift it has for college athletes and just college athletics in general, honestly.
And so I would have to agree with you, right? I definitely think that this is huge. I'm going to hit on 2 points that you said, right? The first was you said shift. And so the first shift, in my opinion, was social media. For these student athletes. Definitely. Especially the sport that I can think of the most is women's basketball. The press has always been there surrounding men's basketball, AAU, things like that, highlights and everything. But social media has opened up so many doors for the lesser talked about sports that it's really just kind of like, wow. I'm seeing women's basketball, they're getting, it's still maybe not enough press, but at the AAU level, these girls are getting highlight tapes made within the weekend. Mm-hmm. They're getting highlight tapes made. They go and play 2-3 games on a Saturday, and they have a highlight tape from those 2-3 games that night.
Right.
During our time, and we're not that old, right? This just recently kind of shifted, but we didn't have that.
At all.
I remember I had to make my own highlight tape from just using clips that one of the parents used to record every game. I had to go and use that game tape from AAU games, and I made my own highlight tape.
Right.
And, I was pretty heavily recruited. It wasn't maybe by like the UConns or things like that, but I was pretty heavily recruited coming up through high school and things like that. Those highlight tapes I made myself. Right. So I kind of sit back and think, okay, how would that maybe have changed, the landscape of my recruiting profile, having that social media? So that's the first shift, right? You're seeing some of these girls that maybe would not be talked about, they're being talked about, which is nice. And it's not just in women's basketball, it's a lot of sports.
Right.
So social media has helped with that. Then, still talking about social media, you go and look at some of these top players' amount of Instagram followers, it's ridiculous.
Crazy.
And so had this rule been allowed, and now that they can do it at the NCAA level, with, and not be disbarred or anything like that, they probably can do it in high school too, because some of these kids, aka Paige Beckers, probably could have had deals well before she got to UConn.
Yeah.
So that changes the game. That's one. The second thing is, how big is it gonna get? And that's something that none of us know. Let's just say this happened 3-4 years ago when the Zion Williamsons are coming through. Does Zion Williamson maybe get a deal with Nike earlier? That's just talking about Nike, though. What about the local businesses that are in those college towns? We went to Indiana University, which is probably one of the biggest college towns you can think of. And the fans love their sports there, especially men's basketball, right? Women's basketball, they're getting super excited about that. But I think of maybe just some of the players that maybe we played with, some of the guys that came through, James Blackman, Yogi Ferrell, Troy Wood, partnering with like a Buffalo Louise.
Yeah.
And the kids at that school, like the fans, they treat those guys like royalty. So a local business like Buffalo Louise partnering with a Yogi Ferrell.
Yeah.
they probably are already going to Buffalo's, but now that Yogi said, let's go to Buffalo's, they're going to want to go there even more.
Let them, I'm just imagining a promotion of come by 10 Wings and get a picture with Yogi Ferrell. Do you know that the line would be wrapped around Kirkwood?
Because, the way that they think, especially how big Yogi was at that time, that picture / autograph could be worth a lot later down the line.
Yeah.
And so the amount of money that Buffalo's maybe, or the check that they cut Yogi would be nothing in comparison to the amount of money that they made off that deal.
Exactly.
And then also just the fact that they're able to get players like that through their restaurant.
Right.
And so people are like,
oh, Yogi ate here. I want to eat here. What's Yogi's favorite flavor? I want to get that. Like,
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of like one of those things where I'm just like, this opens up so much. Good, probably bad as well. And we can kind of hit on that as well. But you ask, how big can it get? And there's already been one huge deal. And this is what I'm like pulling up right now because I wanted to make sure I'm giving you guys the right details. But Master P, his son, Hersey Miller, a top player, I don't think he's top 10 or anything, but one of the top players coming out of high school. Master P actually was talking about this months ago, I think almost as early as a year ago, that he already had a deal lined up for his son, that he was literally just waiting for the NCAA to pass this ruling. And how big did it get? His son is getting $2 million for an endorsement deal before he's even stepped foot on a college court. And so it says, the rapper's son, Hersey Miller, is capitalizing on new rules allowing NCAA athletes to make money off their name, image, and likeness. Headed to Tennessee State, which is an HBCU, by the way, to play college basketball as a freshman next season, he inked a deal with a technology company, Web Apps America, that is worth $2 million over 4 years. Who the hell is Web Apps Technology? I literally have no idea who this company is, but I guarantee other student athletes are going to be looking like, damn, Hersey Miller got $2 million. I don't even know who this company is, but let me go and search them a little bit and see, do they plan on maybe doing more of this or something like that? Now, granted, he's Master P's son, but now people are asking, okay, who's Web Apps? Where do they get all this money from? They want to learn more about it. And then on the other end of that, Hersey Miller is banking in. He has $2 million over 4 years. If he invests it the right way, do the right things with that money, he doesn't care about the NBA.
Right.
He doesn't need it.
Right.
To be honest. And so that's just kind of one of those things that is pretty exciting about it. These kids are very lucky. I definitely think you guys should bank on it. But one point that I wanted to maybe touch on is the amount of good that comes from it. There's also maybe some bad things as far as maybe bad deals. Kids just kind of see the money, and their family just see the money. They're like, oh yeah, let's sign a deal. Right. And so that is something that I fear.
Yeah, and I agree. And I will say that I don't $2 million for Hersey Miller's son is maybe like the absolute like farthest right you can get on the spectrum at least right now. I mean,
right.
Crazy. But you never know what situations that people's families are in. And like you said, I know that a lot of guys that we went to school with, had this been a thing years ago, they could have been helping their families, whether it just be, here, mama, let me just throw you $500 just because I can, just because I have it, just because they cut me a $5,000 check or however much. And so in that sense, as far as just like kind of helping out or doing whatever you do with money in general, flashing it, buying cars, buying designer, whatever it is that you do with money. But again, all money is they say the root of all evil, whatever, you know what I mean? Good things come from money and bad things do as well, just like Tia said. So, I mean, I'm excited to see how far it grows, how far that it can take these student athletes, and even just to see maybe, like I said, the shift of the NBA not being the absolute end goal just because that's where I can make the most money, or the NFL being the end goal just because that's where I can make the most money. A lot of us know that bodies of football players, you know what I mean? Like nobody should put their body through all that football players go through for more than 15 years max, depending on your position, of course, right? So, I mean, just thinking about, hey, if I like you said, do the right things with my money in a certain amount of time,
in 4 years,
then maybe I don't have to have my sights set on the NFL just because I know that's where I'm gonna make the most money. I might can invest and do this and start a business and, you know, create a source of income in other ways other than it just being the NFL, because that's all I know how to do because I'm an athlete and that's just that's all I offer. Like that's not always it, you know, like we offer so much more, but of course we're rooted in sport, that's where we come from, but that's not always, you know, it has to be the end, like has to. I mean, how many dudes that do we know we went to IU with that were like, oh, I'm making it to the league, like like that's it, or what's your backup plan? I don't have one. Well, okay. Well, I mean, and what happens when you have to go overseas for 5-7 years? There's nothing wrong with that by any means, because everyone's path is different. But it's just like you say, well, the NBA or die, and it's just like, you know, it'll be a lot different now. So it'll be interesting to see. I think something that we can keep touching on and keep tapping on as it grows. But yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So I guess, you know, wrapping this up, guys, if you do have the opportunity, right, because it's going to be different for depending on who you are, your skill level, things like that, how marketable you may be. Some of you guys are going to be having people from all different paths trying to get a piece of the pie. Only thing I say, read your contracts. Do your research on the people that are reaching out to you, right? Do your research on the companies that are trying to endorse you, because you don't want to have a company represent you in a negative light and also represent you in represent something that you don't necessarily believe in, because as we've seen, things that happen in the past can come back to haunt you. Whatever you attach your name to can come back to haunt you. So although this is very exciting, the sharks are going to come out, and not everyone has the best intentions, and maybe they don't even give a damn about you or your family. They just see money signs. And so read your contracts, do your research, and, you know, just kind of have fun with it. Start your own businesses, right? Because now use those social media platforms where you guys are coming out of, before even college, some of you guys have like 50,000 followers.
Yeah.
And that's
blue
just,
checks.
right.
You got a blue check by your name.
Right.
Use it.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, start some type of business regardless of what you're selling. Like, you don't need these colleges to even do it for you. You don't even need these companies to endorse you. You guys have what most of these people don't, what they're trying to get, and that's an audience, people that care about the things that you're doing. So you can do it yourself. If you are getting these endorsement deals, just please read your contracts. Family, moms, dads, uncles, second cousins, all the people that come out the woodworks when money get involved. Please do not influence your student athlete to take on bad deals just because you want and or need the money. Know your worth, know your value, and just don't be blinded by money. And that's really just my biggest piece of advice, because I've seen rich people go broke all the time. And if you don't do the right things with your money, like, it could just all go bad. So that's that on that. Congrats. Take advantage of that, guys. But just make sure you read, because like you said, I think it depends on the state as well, with the law, whatever the law is there. So just make sure you're doing the right things. If you don't know, ask compliance people at your schools and things of that nature. So moving on to the next topic, another athlete that's been in the news a lot recently, Sha'Carri Richardson. She's actually from the Dallas,
the D,
Fort Worth Metroplex. We got another one right here with Danny, as you can see. And so she's kind of taking the world by storm. And track is one of those sports that is so fun to watch, but people usually only start talking about it when it gets to either the Olympics, the World Championships, things like that. And so Sha'Carri, she runs the 100-meter dash, and she won the Olympic trials running a 10.8. And so obviously people have kind of flocked to her with positivity and negativity because of who she is. She knows exactly who she is. She's very confident, and as she should. She won the Olympic trials, but then recently she actually just got caught, or they did a test, and they found marijuana in her system, which resulted in a 30-day suspension, which means she won't be able to run the 100-meter dash at the Olympics, but I think she will be able to participate in the 4x1 at the Olympics. So that's what's everyone has been kind of talking about. And so what are your thoughts on that?
Well, first of all, I think that a lot of times anyone that does anything wrong, I put super big air quotes around wrong, it's like persecution immediately, like immediately. And don't get me wrong, like if I am in, the position to possibly go to the Olympics, who knows if, what's going through my mind, how I'm preparing, how I'm, all of those things that she was doing. She was, like you said, was getting so much notoriety. Everybody was talking about her. I mean, big deal, right? And then finds out that her mom passes away from a reporter at the trials. Mm-hmm. How do you tell someone what they should or shouldn't do in that situation? When do you tell someone what they should or shouldn't do in general at all? So with her, like we said, gaining so much notoriety lately, I hate how we always, and I say we like as a society, not necessarily we as like Black people, because there's a difference, huge difference, and I'll explain. Like as a society, it's like persecution, especially in the sports world, especially as an athlete, right? Like, oh my gosh, you're supposed to hold yourself to a higher standard. Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, you're supposed to know better. Oh my gosh, you have little kids looking up to you. Oh my God, how could you embarrass our country? Oh my God, rules are rules. You have all of those people right on this side. And then I think you come over here to Black America and to just Black folks and how we are with people. And I love that about us because genuinely, like, obviously everyone's gonna have a different opinion, but I think there really is like a strong core of Black folks who are like, yeah, that was wrong, but let's talk about it, us. You know what I mean? Like versus trying to condemn her and persecute her in public in front of, the world. And she came out and she said, I knew what I did was wrong. I knew what I was doing. I was grieving for my mother, which I'm sorry for your loss. That's heartbreaking.
Right.
And again, how can anyone tell someone how they should grieve, how they should move or act in that situation? You can't. You literally can't. Even if you're in that situation, you still can't. So, with all that being said, I feel for her. And that to me, this doesn't take anything away from her as a person. I feel like a lot of people smoke weed. Let's be real. Let's be honest. A lot of people smoke weed. A lot of people get high. You know what I mean?
High every day.
Hey, Mary. Like seriously, and I'm not promoting smoking weed at all, but I'm saying that it is a very normalized thing. Let's talk about the multi-billion-dollar industry that marijuana, weed, CBD, all of that has become.
Yep.
Come on now. Let's talk about how you walk into dispensaries that look like the Apple Store, know, but you have people that are still locked up for 20, 15-year convictions over weed. You know what I mean? Like, let's talk about the bigger conversation, the bigger connotation that weed has in society. Weed is normally linked to who? Black people.
Right.
Right? So, her coming out as weed, I knew she was a thug. I knew she was like this when she popped out with colored wigs and nails on. It's just like, again, we immediately go straight there. Like that happens a lot. And I hate that it happened for her. But like I said, as Black folks, I feel like, we wrap our arms around each other and our people when we need to. And I feel like this is one of those moments. We're not bashing her. We're not telling her yeah, maybe you were wrong a little bit. You're supposed to be going to the Olympics, girl. Come on, you got to represent. Do better. Mm-hmm. But also we're not judging you. We understand where your pain is, where you're coming from. And, you still can run in the 4x1. Go kill it. Go do that.
Right. And I completely agree, right? Okay, yes, those are the rules. But what I didn't like about this situation is everyone's like, well, you knew what the rules were. I think we got to back it up a little bit. Oh, yes, she knew what the rules were. She even said that, right? But should that even be a rule?
Right.
That's what I question is, especially now and today, I think 19 states have legalized marijuana in some form or way.
Yeah.
And things like that. There's been a lot of conversation around it where she consumed the marijuana was in a state that was legal.
Right, correct.
And things like that. So I think in this situation, instead of looking at her, I'm more so kind of scratching my head at the rule. Like, how is this still even a rule anymore? And the reason why I say that is because not promoting marijuana, I don't care what you do, but it's legal in 19 states, right?
Right.
Not only that, but, and I kind of lost my train of thought with what I was about to say, but, you know, it's legal in 19 states. What I was going to say was that it's not a performance-enhancing drug.
It's not. If anything, it's a performance...
Well, de-enhancing. That's a word, a downer, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
And so that's where I'm just kind of like, okay, why are they even testing for that? There's no science. There's no studies or anything that says that marijuana is going to help you to perform better. Personally, when you look at it from that frame, it's just a way to control people. And it's not just black athletes, it's all athletes.
Correct.
Now that it's becoming legalized, that's just another way to control these athletes, which is not right.
Right.
It's not right whatsoever. If it's not helping her to compete better, she ran faster than all those girls and she was smoking weed. I mean, she beat them handedly.
Yeah.
She didn't even, I watched the race. She was not even the first one out the blocks.
Right.
She ran them down.
She lagged them. She was lagging a little bit.
She ran them down.
Yeah.
And beat them handedly. And she smoked the blunt. So
probably why she was lagging.
So it's just kind of like, that's really my biggest issue. It's like,
right.
If it's not a performance-enhancing drug, why is it being tested? I do think that, and this is just my personal opinion, I don't have any science to back this up, so don't come for me or anything like that. I do think that if you smoke weed daily, it can hurt your performance. Now, how much does it hurt your performance? I don't know. Because I know a lot of people that smoke weed daily and be hooping.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So how much, I don't know. But if an athlete chooses to do that, knowing that it could potentially mess up their performance, that's their choice, and maybe they're not the top athlete anymore. And in her story, she smoked weed, and I think she might have just did it that one time after, finding out that news, especially the way that she did, because I know track is a sport where I feel like they're consistently drug testing and things like that, because the performance-enhancing drugs can give you such an advantage.
Right.
But it seems like, it was a young girl that was kind of going through something. If it's me, I don't give a damn about the Olympics at that point.
Right.
I just want to be embraced by my family and things like that. And then especially, running for a country that don't even give a damn about me half the time until we talk about sports in the first place. But that's another story.
Sure is.
But I just want to say I send my condolences out to her. I'm behind you. I really don't care what you did, to be honest, especially if we talk about some marijuana. Just come back 10 times stronger, 10 times faster, and just keep being you and things like that. And so. Yeah.
And just like another small thing with that topic, the NBA and the NFL have loosened so many restrictions not restrictions, so many rules and drug testing with with marijuana. And so I feel like just going off that, if the NBA and NFL are loosening the reins as far as like drug testing for marijuana in particular, then other sports probably will start to follow suit and track. And just like you said, it's not a performance enhancing drug. It's not anything that's making you faster, quicker, stronger. If anything, it's something that should be de-enhancing you. So, yeah. All right, so I think we both can agree, right? We should let Sha'Carri run. I don't know if you guys saw some of the tweets, but I think one of the most notable ones was LaMelo Ball. I think he said something like, "If it ain't crack, let her run track."
which I thought was pretty funny. I don't know if you saw some that were...
No, that was the best one. Someone's gonna put that on a shirt, and I can't wait. What Tia said is not that serious. Weed is, I mean, and it was legal in the state that she consumed it. Like, come on now.
Right.
What are we talking about?
We talking about practice.
Come on now.
We talking about marijuana.
We talking about a little tweed. Come on now. Roll it up.
All right. We're gonna stop playing. But
yeah,
we're good on that, right?
Right.
Something else we want to hit on, guys. NBA playoffs. Last time you guys heard from us, we talked about round 1 of the NBA playoffs, but a lot has transpired since then. We actually now have our final 2 teams, the Milwaukee Bucks and the Phoenix Suns, who will be competing for an NBA championship. But we did kind of want to talk about the paths of the final 4 teams that were still standing. So I'll let you decide with which team we maybe want to go with first, and then we'll kind of go from there.
Well, I guess we can, start in the West, since my pick is the Phoenix Suns to win. I don't know if yours is different. Is it?
Now, we'll talk about predictions. We'll talk about predictions afterwards.
Okay. Well, my original pick from last episode was the Brooklyn Nets, which, of course, they got knocked out by the Bucks, and it was just, to me, that first of all, that last game with KD's toe being on the line by, like a millimeter, really hurt. Especially after the performance he put on was insane. But that would have been the series. That shot would have ended their season. And so, of course, the game went to overtime. They lost in overtime, the end. But with Kyrie hurting his ankle, with James Harden not being at 100%, Brooklyn went from being a super team to being regular, to me. And yeah, you had James Harden out there, but he wasn't performing nearly as he would have had he been at 100% health. And then you're missing your all-star point guard, Kyrie, one of the best point guards in the league. So yeah, Brooklyn, they took some blows along with a lot of other teams. I know your Lakers did as well. Yeah, my original pick, Brooklyn, got knocked out. So then we have Milwaukee matched up against the Hawks, who, to me, should have never made it past the 76ers.
Oh, my goodness.
And I feel like the Hawks have had, such a run. And I'm not hating on the Hawks at all. I don't necessarily even really care about anyone in the East.
I hating on them. Don't nobody want to see the Hawks play basketball. Maybe you folks in ATL, I do not want to see the Hawks playing in the Eastern Conference Finals and almost NBA Finals. But proceed.
It was close. And I was to me, I was like, the Hawks aren't even going to get past the 76ers. It should have been.
Right.
I almost had the 76ers and the Bucks picked, and almost the 76ers above the Bucks, But like we said, we talked about Ben Simmons and his performance, which, But like I said, the Hawks should have never made it past the 76ers to me. But, Trae Young has been rallying ever since they were playing the Knicks. He wasn't playing around.
Right.
And I feel like Trae Young gained a lot of my respect. Not that I didn't respect him before, but he gained a lot of my respect in this playoff run, just from a consistency standpoint, even through his injury. But the Hawks making it past the 76ers. For one, I saw a lot of people just talking about Doc Rivers and how he, just can really knows how to blow a lead, really knows how to, when everything's lined up for them to win, they just don't. I don't know why. I don't know if there's some sort of Doc Rivers curse. I don't know what. But I think Joel Embiid played a hell of a series versus the Hawks. Ben Simmons, however, did not. I believe he only shot the ball a total of 20 times in the last 3 or 4 games. In the last game, I think he shot the ball 5 times. You're Ben Simmons, and there were so many times where he had a wide open opportunity or an opportunity for him to at least have a shot attempt and would pass it up to make that extra pass, which okay, I get it, you're a point guard, but you have to look to score as well. You know, the 76ers needed that scoring from him, and that was lacking big time. And so I did see that he is sitting out of playing for Team Australia this season to focus on his personal development, which I think is big and huge and needed for sure. So, yeah, what did you think about him in that series?
So I just think Ben Simmons in general, and I've been saying this, I want to say, for probably the past 2 years, and I don't know what goes on outside the court. I'm specifically talking about on the court. Ben Simmons is soft. And it has nothing to do with the fact that he's not a great three-point shooter. It has nothing to do with the fact that he's not taking a ton of shots. But it has everything to do with the fact that you were almost looked at as the second coming of LeBron. If we're talking about body, build, things like that, right? Athleticism.
Expectations.
Yeah. Things like that. Point forward, right? And although you may have had some success, it's really just kind of disappointing. And the reason why I call Ben Simmons soft is because, one, you've been in the league how long, and you still haven't developed any type of shot. And maybe you have, but this is what bothers me. He doesn't even look to shoot.
No. It's not like he's not trying to me, if that's me, I'm trying to prove people wrong. Like, I'm
right.
Yeah, but that's not him.
He's not even looking to shoot. And I don't know why. I don't know if he's embarrassed that people are going to make fun of him. I don't know if he's embarrassed that it's just going to be an air ball, or I don't know what compels him to not shoot. But that's why I say he's soft, because it's like, if you have to work on something, the only way that you can get better at it is by doing it. Okay, you can do it in open gym. I saw a clip, and he was shooting well. Mechanics looked okay. It looked fine. But you get in the game, and you literally refuse to shoot, that's soft. And it's like, you've been in the league how long now? At some point, if it is a mental thing that's happening on the court, you have to get over that.
Yeah.
Russell Westbrook, for instance, my favorite player, he's not the best shooter. But Russ is not going to stop shooting.
No.
Even though people have begged him to stop.
Begged and pleaded.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I can respect that about him, because at least he's trying. He's going to do whatever it takes to win. And if that means that he needs to be able to hit some shots hit at least 3 or 4 out of 15, at least he's taking those shots, getting those shots up.
Right.
Ben Simmons refuses. Personal development, yes, that needs to happen. But I also feel like it's kind of up here.
Yeah.
It's just in your head.
Right.
You're an NBA player. You're one of the best athletes that we probably would ever see. But even when you watch him play, it just seems like he's like spooked.
Yeah.
And if it's this damn 3-point shot that's spooking him like that, that's an issue.
Yeah. Let's talk about it.
Like, my dude, like, it's only a 3-point shot. Like,
yeah.
It's like, you got to get over that.
Yeah.
And so I think Ben Simmons is a great player, and I think that he can reach great heights, but he has to get over this little hump, this 3-point shot. I don't know if he having nightmares about. He got to get over that in order to be. And I'm not saying he has to even be a great 3-point shooter. He just has to shoot the ball. Give yourself a chance.
Yeah.
You miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Yeah. Put pressure on the defense to guard you.
Exactly. Because at this point, the way people are guarding him, and I do this on 2K, so I know it worked. They just dropping down.
Sag.
And he's not even trying to drive at times.
No.
Because they're doing the same thing with Giannis.
Yeah.
But Giannis still going to attack the basket. Ben
Giannis
Simmons is just exactly.
Yeah.
He's just completely taking himself outside of the game. That part I don't respect. I think it's soft. It's fixable. So that's the thing. It's very fixable. Go and work on yourself, but at the end of the day, it's going to come down to this and believing that you can do it regardless of what other people may say. Okay. And so Ben Simmons plays with confidence, and I'm not even saying he has to shoot threes. He don't even have to shoot. But if he plays aggressively, actively trying to get to the bucket, kind of like Giannis does, the 76ers probably do come out of that, right? Especially with just the amount of star power that they have kind of going against the Hawks and things like that. If Ben Simmons is playing the way that we've known Ben Simmons to play, the Hawks don't make it this far.
Yeah, exactly.
Hawks made it this far, though. Can't take anything away from them. They play hard. They're well coached. And when they're shooting the three ball well, they're probably one of the best three ball shooting teams within the league. So respect to them. But personally, I don't want to see the Hawks play, to be honest.
Yeah.
They're just not a fun team for me to watch.
Yeah.
Trey Young played great.
Yeah.
He played well. This is just my personal opinion, I don't want to watch Trey Young and the Hawks play and Clint Capella down in the post and things like that. But they made it thus far. The Bucks, right, this Bucks-Hawks series, I thought, although I did think that the Hawks would get one, I don't think that the Bucks should have maybe struggled with them as much as they did. You know, I watch a lot of Inside the NBA, and what Chuck said, even though I don't always agree with what Charles Barkley has to say, but he said the Milwaukee Bucks are probably going to win a championship, which I agree, so that's foreshadowing my prediction. But they're one of the stupidest teams in the league, just as far as, like, from a coaching standpoint and just, like, game plan. I completely agree. I watched the Bucks play, and I'm just kind of like, what are y'all doing?
Yeah.
You know, one thing will work for them in one game, and then they completely go away from it in the next game. And it's just kind of like, you guys make it harder on yourselves, much harder than it needs to be.
Right.
I think Giannis has been playing great. Obviously, he just got hurt, so he didn't play the last two games that the Bucks closed out. So that'll be interesting to kind of see where that goes. I'm glad that they finally beat the Hawks out or whatever. And so that's just kind of how I feel over there in that Eastern Conference.
Yeah.
That Eastern Conference side. And so.
Yeah. I can see what you mean from the Bucks as far as them just not being like a smart team, and even like a lot of the play, like I feel like they have a lot of Shaq and the Fool type moments. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I do get what you mean, especially Giannis. And I almost hate to see the slack that they give Giannis sometimes, because let's be honest, like a lot of those plays where Giannis is on an island and he has the ball and he's going against Blake Griffin in the last series, or the series before the last series now. And Blake Griffin is just straight up, like, you know what I mean? Just checking him, guarding him. And Giannis has no idea what to do. I mean, no bag.
Right.
None whatsoever. And I think what James Harden said, like, I wish I could just be 7 foot and dunk. Like, I hate to halfway agree with him, but, like, yeah. Like, you know what I mean? Like, Giannis's athleticism and his size is his game to me. And that's fine. I mean, obviously, you just got a supermax and you're, you know what I mean, one of the highest paid athletes in the NBA, but it's just, you can see it get exposed sometimes. And so, but I mean, with that being said, I mean, it's not like he's been exposed in these playoffs. I mean, he's been averaging, I don't even know, what, 30, 35?
Yeah, under 30.
Yeah. So not saying that at all. I'm just saying that, you know, and there have been certain instances where people will be like, oh, I'm not, as a post player, I'm not going to show my son clips of Giannis, you know, because what am I showing him versus showing him clips of, you know, Olajuwon, Shaq, stuff like that. So anyways, he obviously is injured right now. We saw that clip of him hyperextending his knee, which looked disgusting, by the way. Awful, hate that for him. Also goes to show to his freak athleticism, because I don't know, I feel like most people's leg damn near would have snapped, and I heard he's back doing on-court stuff already. So that's good for him that he didn't have much downtime with that injury, because who knows how bad that could have been. Thank God it wasn't. So yeah, Chris Middleton definitely stepped up in that last game, and just in general,
he's been hooping.
Yeah, and again, respect again has grown, because truth be told, I don't typically watch the Bucks during the NBA season. Definitely don't watch the Hawks. So like I said, just like my respect grew for Trey Young after watching that series, definitely it grew for Chris Middleton. Just watching him actually hoop and kind of put that team on his back, even before the Giannis injury, but definitely afterwards. So hopefully Giannis can return in the finals, because I think that would suck to not have him in the finals. I mean, obviously the Bucks' biggest star. But moving over to the West side, I don't know why I said it like that. To the West side. Obviously, we had Clippers, Mavs.
Mm-hmm.
Clippers took that series. My poor Mavs. Luka needs some help. We got to send Porzingis to the Shanghai Sharks. Yeah, Clippers took that series. Suns versus Jazz. I want to say Suns swept them.
Yeah. Did they? I don't know. I don't remember. Jazz might have took one, but no, maybe they did.
I think they did sweep them.
Okay.
I think so. I could fact check that, but so Suns handled that series. So then we had Suns Clippers. Was a pretty good series. I had the Suns after Brooklyn lost. I had the Suns picked. Let me say this: after the Lakers lost, I had the Suns picked in the West. I
can see that
from that. In the East, it was Brooklyn, and then after Brooklyn, now of course it's Milwaukee. But I think that the Suns Clippers series was a really good one. I think the Clippers, I liked seeing Ty Lue coach them up the way that they did, and I also feel like they were very it was very competitive, chippy, physical type series, which I like to see. I don't know if that's bad, but I like to see that. Of course there was the shove with Pat Bev pushing CP3 in the back, which to me, I want to get your thoughts on that situation before I say my thoughts.
Well, CP3 isn't a saint. I will say that.
I agree.
So, although I don't believe he should have been pushed at that point, there's probably plenty other times that CP3 could have been pushed like that.
Right.
Because of just the nature of the way he plays. But Patrick Beverley is a clown for that.
Yeah.
And I'm all for the chippiness and things like that during play. But to push someone in the back and they're not even looking, I think it's just clown activity.
Yeah.
I think someone should have clocked him as soon as that happened, especially one of those guys that just wasn't play. I think I saw Frank Kaminsky, which no, I don't think Frank Kaminsky would ever do that or anything like that. But he's just a clown for that activity. I thought that was very stupid. Yeah, it's okay to be frustrated, but leave it all out on the floor.
Right.
Don't do anything to where people already kind of dislike Patrick Beverley, and that's just another reason for them to dislike him. Now, with that being said, and I talked with a lot of people about it, the consensus is that's the whole reason why Patrick Beverley is still in the league in the first place.
Yeah.
He's in the league not because he's skilled offensively or anything like that. It's because he brings something to the floor that most people can't give you. He gets under people's skin.
Yeah.
He gets in people's grill. He's going to be that guy that most teams need that, as long as you have Patrick Beverley on your team, there has to be a certain level of toughness that team is going to have.
Yeah.
Just because of who Patrick Beverley is. You can't be soft and play against Patrick Beverley, period. So that's why he's in the league. And I get that. I understand it. But as far as things when the whistle blows after the fact, especially when a guy's not even looking, that's dumb.
Yeah.
Stupid. He shouldn't have did it. He apologized to CP3 though, which was good. And so I guess that's pretty much over. I don't think CP3 cares because Chris Paul knows what he does. And I'm quite sure you see it. Chris Paul isn't dirty, but he's I don't want to even say borderline dirty. He knows how to play the game. He knows the right times to flop. He knows how to get away with certain things, like as far as things that may be borderline a foul on his side.
Yeah.
And get away with it. And he's chippy. He plays with a chip on his shoulder. He plays the game the right way, but I can definitely understand why someone will want to push Chris Paul because I've seen enough of him playing to know I probably want to do that as well.
Yeah, especially the type of players that he is it's like you said, he gets away with it. The ref doesn't see him do it, but he sees you do it, and that's he did it first. But I agree, like you said, he's not a saint. Ain't no telling what he said when he walked past Pat.
He didn't say nothing. Not that time.
Okay.
They showed the replay. He actually his mouth didn't even move.
He didn't say anything. Pat Bev just pushed him.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
That's why even more clown.
Yeah. I thought he said something. I didn't know it wasn't just.
It looked like he did. But when they showed the replay, he actually didn't say nothing.
Wow. And Pat Bev just lost it. But I agree. I think having Pat Bev on your team has just a certain connotation behind it as far as him just being, a dog defensively, getting under people's skin, getting in big players' heads, which, you can't coach that necessarily. You can't teach that. So, again, I understand what you mean as far as why he's in the NBA, why he still has a job. And I get that. I respect that for who he is. But Yeah, the Suns handled that series with the Clippers.
I will say one thing though, Clippers wise, that I kind of wasn't necessarily surprised about. You got to give some people props, right? Reggie Jackson
Definitely
was balling,
hooping.
You know what I'm saying? Marcus Morris.
Yes.
Or is it Markeith? I always get them confused.
Yeah, I think it's Marcus.
Marcus.
I think.
Okay. His brother's Markeith.
Yeah.
One of the Morris brothers,
right.
Whoever that man may be. I'm playing. He was hooping when they kind of played him.
He was.
Paul
George.
Paul George.
And
I'm one of Paul George's biggest critics.
Me too.
Paul George played great. I still don't think he has kind of that magic he used to have, though.
Yeah.
When he played for the Pacers. Like, they talked about the go-ahead buckets.
Yeah.
Where they needed those shots in order to stay in the game and or win. Paul George normally would hit that. Yeah. But I definitely feel like some big shots he didn't hit that probably could have changed the game. But other than that, he played great. He was the whole reason why they were in the game along with Reggie Jackson and things like that.
Yeah, and what you said about big shots, big free throws. He missed several big game time clutch free throws that, I mean, you know, that's clutch, that's big. So, yeah, but I do give him props. I know a lot in the bubble, you know, Pandemic P is what people were calling him just for his lack of performance, should I say, in the Clipper series in the bubble. But this year he definitely balled out. Definitely, you know,
he had to.
Yeah, definitely. And with Kawhi going down, I don't think they ever said what it was that Kawhi.
Something with his knee.
I know they said knee, but I think they were trying to like hide the fact that it was his ACL, which I don't get. But I mean, I do get, but whatever.
Right.
But yeah, Paul George having to step up with Kawhi being gone, and he did that. You know. Took the Suns to 6, which is big. You know, the Suns are a really good team.
Especially without Kawhi.
Exactly.
And the Sun had all of their people.
Yeah. So definitely props to them. Like I said, Ty Lue, a lot of people don't really respect him as a coach because they feel like LeBron carried him to that ring in the finals versus the Warriors. But I think so many black head coaches in the NBA right now are making a name for themselves, which I love to see. The coach for the Hawks, the coach Ty Lue, who you know, they obviously just got knocked out. The coach for the Suns. Yeah. So many black head coaches right now that are making ways for themselves, making runs in this playoffs, which, you know, representation is always so important. Whether we think about it in that way or not, it matters. So that's big. Mm-hmm. So now we, you know, like we said, we have the matchup, Suns versus Bucks. And I think it's cool that I, you know, picked the Suns, she picked the Bucks. Because now we're going to see who wins. I think it's going to be me and the Suns.
We'll see. So I'll talk about why I picked the Bucks. I personally, I really like Giannis, even though, he doesn't have a bag, but I think he's a great player on and off the floor.
Yeah.
I think as far as the complete team, and when I say this, I'm not saying that the Suns doesn't have it, because I think each team has something that helps them.
Yeah.
The Suns with Chris Paul. Without Chris Paul, they probably, you know, that veteran leadership, they're probably not up to this point.
Right.
Also, the Suns, not taking anything away from them, they've faced teams that have lost big-time players, right? Lakers.
Yeah.
LeBron still played, but he had the ankle. That's not an excuse. He was on the floor, so I don't care about that. But AD was a huge loss.
Right.
Clippers, right? With Kawhi.
Right.
They also knocked out the Jazz, too. Sorry, not the Jazz. The Nuggets.
Yeah.
But the Nuggets didn't have dang near 2 key players in Jamal Murray.
Right.
And what's his name? He played at Michigan State. Harrod, is it Greg Harrod?
You name dropped him last time.
Yeah.
I didn't know it
Yeah. So I forget his name for whatever reason. But so they have kind of played people that haven't had some of their stars. Nonetheless, they're here. The Bucks, they've had some adversity. I think that the Bucks should win, and they're going to be my pick to win just based on their team, right? If Jrue Holiday comes to play, now Chris Paul, he can kind of go off at any time, but you can limit Chris Paul. And I think, and I struggle with this, but I think Trae Young is a little bit harder to guard than Chris Paul straight up. And I'm straight up saying without screens, because Trae Young is just a lot more shifty, and Chris Paul is just not as shifty as he used to be. Although he still is shifty, he's not as shifty as he used to be. And I would rather guard Chris Paul on an island than Trae Young.
I can completely agree with that. Completely.
Right. So I think Drew Holiday has I don't want to say easier, but a better matchup going against Chris Paul, right, at the point guard position.
Right.
If Chris Middleton continues to play that he has, I can imagine that they're probably going to put either Jay Crowder on Chris Middleton or Devin Booker.
I can see Jay Crowder,
because Jay Crowder's a little bit more physical.
Right, and they don't want to tire Devin Booker out on defense.
Right. So, but I think Chris Middleton, the fact that he can shoot, opens it up a lot more for them. If Giannis is playing, my pick is based on if everyone's healthy, just so you guys know. If Giannis is playing, DeAndre Ayton is a great player, but Giannis has to show him who's the veteran in this series in order for the Bucks to win. If all of those three things happen, all of those pieces, and then obviously Brook Lopez, he's going to be a hard matchup for them, I think.
Yeah.
Just because, especially the way he played in those last two games with the Hawks, if he's playing like that, he's obviously stronger than DeAndre Ayton, I think. DeAndre Ayton's more skilled, more talented, but Brook Lopez is an area where I think the Suns may struggle, especially if they're having to choose between, okay, do we want to guard Brook or Giannis? Obviously, they're going to put him on Giannis, but if Brook Lopez steps up to the plate, that's going to potentially create a mismatch for the Suns.
I agree.
And so that's why I think the Bucks are going to win. That's saying everyone's healthy, and then obviously if they play the way that they're supposed to play, I think that the Bucks win. Obviously, they aren't very smart, so that does hurt them. But that's what I'm going to go with. I'm going to go lock my pick in, the Bucks. That's the reason why Suns are a great team, and it really could go either way. But in the nature of having to choose, I'm going to go with the Bucks.
And I respect that. And I agree so much with a lot of what you said. I do think that DeAndre Ayton can guard Giannis. I think he can, but I do think that Giannis can dominate him if he decides to. Now, that obviously depends on how his knee is feeling, what's going on with that, which I hope, like you said, I hope Giannis can play and that they're at 100% because that's the series we want to see, right? We never want to see a player injured, number one. And number two, we want the series to be the best that it can be without Giannis, without, I don't know, anyone on the Suns being injured. Like, it's just not the series that it could be. So, I think they're really evenly matched. I think DeAndre Ayton can step up and at least limit Giannis because anyone stopping a player like Giannis is not going to happen, but limiting him for sure. I can see D-Book getting off because I'm trying to think on who Milwaukee could necessarily just guard Booker. And I don't feel like Devin Booker is the type of player that's just going to necessarily just like take you off the dribble and just kill you that way, but he's like he is more of a silent killer, silent scorer.
Right.
You know, he gets those dumps out from Aiden a lot of times for just those spot up threes. So it'll be interesting to see how much each of those pieces on the Suns, on the Bucks, can contribute. Also, think about how much rest time the Suns have had versus the Bucks. Their series just ended last night versus the Suns series who ended a week ago.
Exactly.
So that rest time that we've been talking about all year with their shorter off season, I think will contribute to this series as well. So there's a lot that I feel like that's up for grabs, but I am personally going to pick the Suns. I want to see CP3 win a ring.
I do too. It's hard. I want to see Giannis win too though.
Yeah. And I love Giannis, and I think, like I said, I think it's going to be really evenly matched. So I guess we're just going to have to wait and see how it goes.
And you're right. We are going to have to wait to see. I think it's going to be a great matchup. There's also some guys that can kind of help, at least on the defensive end, where you're saying guarding Devin Booker, PJ Tucker.
Right.
I think that's sometimes people that we kind of forget about.
Chris
Middleton could possibly guard him as well.
Yeah.
It depends on how much they want to do on offense. I think even guys like, and I'm not disrespecting Devin Booker, but Pat Connaughton can come off the bench, and he has the length and size to be able to kind of guard Devin Booker.
Yeah.
But my question to you is, so you said the Suns. Who do you think is the piece that's the most important for the Suns to beat the Bucks?
Honestly, I think it's going to be DeAndre Ayton. And
Okay.
of course, me being a post player, like I have more of that like post connection, but I do think that inside game, whether it is Giannis being healthy or Brook Lopez sliding down and not playing that stretch five basketball that we've seen so much in the NBA, like really having a battle in there, because DeAndre Ayton isn't that type of post player that plays that stretch five position. He does most of his work inside, which I respect and which I love and which I still like to see in the league, because there are so many players who like to stretch the floor, which there isn't anything wrong with that. I love to see both, but I hate to see it be one-sided. And obviously Giannis is the same way, more so prominent inside, scores so much in the paint. So I think that's what's going to be really key, is DeAndre Ayton defensively checking whoever it is or limiting whoever it is, whether it be Giannis, whether it be Brook Lopez, whether it be the guy off the bench, I forget his name, the one who wears the headband for the Bucks. Him. So
Bobby Portis.
Yes. I'm sorry. Drew a blank. But him. So whoever it is that DeAndre Ayton ends up having to check throughout the game, I think that's going to be big, limiting that inside presence. And I think on the outside, Jay Crowder, Chris Paul, Devin Booker can defensively handle all of that on the outside, and the backup point guard as well, who did amazing in the last series when Chris Paul was out with COVID and all that. So yeah, okay. I think it'll be DeAndre Ayton, and yeah, like I said, I'm going to say Suns in 6. That's my prediction. I'm sticking to it. I'm not going to sit here and disrespect the Bucks like Suns in 4, because that's not going to happen. But I would definitely say Suns in 6, maybe 7, but I say 6.
Okay. So there you have it. Danny's pick is the Phoenix Suns. My pick is the Milwaukee Bucks. Go ahead and sound off in the comments and let us know who you guys think is going to take the NBA championship. But that being said, that wraps us up for today. Thank you guys for tuning in to Unfinished Business. We had a lot of great things to talk about. Yeah. This is Danny. I'm Tia, and we out this thing.
Peace.